The Empire had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. Their ships crossed the stars like silver ghosts. Their weapons could burn worlds to ash. Their armies had conquered 1,000 civilizations. No species had ever challenged them and lived. High Commander stood on the bridge of the Imperial flagship Eternal Dominion. His 4 eyes watched the stars through the massive viewing window. His gray-scaled skin reflected the soft blue lights of the control panels around him. Behind him, hundreds of officers worked at their stations. The bridge was the size of a small city. Everything about it was massive. Their ships, their empire, their pride. But today was worried. The war against the was not going well. There were insect-like creatures from the galaxy's edge. They did not negotiate. They did not surrender. They only consumed. For 300 years, the Empire had held them back, but now they were pushing deeper into Imperial space than ever before. "Status report," said. His voice was deep and commanded respect. A young officer named approached. She was nervous. Everyone was nervous these days. "High Commander, the fleet has destroyed 2 more colony worlds. The defensive line at Sector 7 is failing. We have lost contact with 30 ships in the last cycle." Closed his eyes. 30 ships, thousands of lives gone. And the reinforcements from the core worlds. "Still 3 cycles away, High Commander." Too slow. Everything was too slow. They moved like a plague. They faster than the Empire could kill them. For the first time in his long life, wondered if the Empire might actually fall. "High Commander," another voice cut through the bridge noise. It was Sensor Officer, an old veteran with scars across his face. "We have detected something strange." Turned, strange was not a word he liked these days. Strange usually meant more. "Explain." His 4 eyes were fixed on his sensor screen. His expression was one had never seen on the old warrior's face. Confusion, maybe even fear. "A ship has exited hyperspace at the edge of the system, but the readings make no sense." Walked to the sensor station. Other officers gathered around. On the screen, a small dot blinked. The ship was tiny compared to vessels, but the data next to it was impossible. "The energy signature is wrong," said. "The mass readings are wrong. The hyperspace exit point is wrong. According to our instruments, this ship traveled through a region of space that should be impossible to navigate. The Void Corridor." A murmur went through the bridge. The Void Corridor was a section of space filled with gravity storms, radiation clouds, and spacetime distortions. No ship could survive passage through it. They had tried many times. They had lost many ships. They had declared it impossible. "It must be a sensor error," said. "I have checked 3 times," replied. "The readings are accurate. This ship came through the Void Corridor, and there is more." He pressed a button. The image on the screen zoomed in on the unknown vessel. It was shaped like nothing had ever seen. Not any of the 1,000 species the Empire had encountered. "I ran the ship's design through our database," continued. "It matches nothing in our records except one entry." "Which entry?" demanded. Hesitated. When he spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper. "Human." Silence fell over the bridge, felt his heart skip. He had heard of humans, of course, every had. They were a primitive species from a small planet called Earth in a distant arm of the galaxy. They had only achieved basic interstellar travel a few centuries ago. The Empire had observed them but never made contact. There was no point. Humans were insignificant. Their technology was primitive. They were short. Their bodies were weak. They were not worth the Empire's attention. "That is impossible," said. "Humans do not have the technology for long-distance hyperspace travel. They certainly cannot navigate the Void Corridor." "I know, High Commander, but the ship's design matches human architecture, and we are now receiving a transmission from the vessel." "Put it on screen." The main viewing window flickered. A new image appeared. It showed the interior of a ship unlike anything. The walls were covered in strange symbols. Lights blinked on panels that seemed both primitive and oddly advanced, and in the center of the frame sat a creature. It was small, much smaller than a. It had only 2 eyes. Its skin was a soft brown color. It had hair on its head, dark and cut short. It wore a uniform of some kind, black with golden symbols on the shoulders. It was sitting in a chair, completely relaxed, with one leg crossed over the other. A human, an actual human. Had seen images of humans before. They looked weak, fragile. This one was no different, and yet something about the way it sat there so calm made uncomfortable. The human spoke. Its voice was translated by the ship systems into language. "Hello there. My name is Captain Cole of the Earth vessel Horizon. I hope I have not arrived at a bad time." Did not know what to say. In 10,000 years, no species had ever casually announced itself to the Empire. Other species begged, pleaded, surrendered. They did not introduce themselves like old friends meeting for a meal. "Human," finally said, "you have entered Imperial space. Explain your presence immediately." The human, Cole, smiled. Did not know human expressions well, but he thought the smile looked amused. "I am on a mission of exploration and assistance," the human said. "We detected some rather significant conflict in this region. Lots of destruction, many lives lost. We thought we might be able to help." Help could not hide his confusion. "You, a human, you wish to help the Empire." "That is correct." "Human, do you understand who we are? We have ruled this galaxy for 10,000 years. We have conquered 1,000 worlds. Our military is the most powerful force in existence." "Yes, I have heard of you," Cole replied. His tone was polite but not impressed. "Quite the reputation, though from what I have observed you seem to be having some trouble lately." Felt anger rise in his chest. The arrogance of this creature. This small, weak, short-lived creature from a primitive world. "Our affairs are none of your concern. Leave this space immediately, or you will be destroyed." The human did not seem worried by this threat. He leaned forward slightly in his chair. "With respect, High Commander, I must decline that suggestion. I have traveled a very long way, through some rather difficult space, as I am sure your sensors have noted. I did not come all this way just to turn around." Leaned close to and spoke quietly. "High Commander, I am detecting additional anomalies from the human ship. Its power output is significant, far more significant than its size would suggest." "How significant?" His voice dropped even lower. "More than this flagship, High Commander." Felt a chill run through his body. That was impossible. The Eternal Dominion was the largest ship in the Imperial fleet. Its power systems could light 100 worlds. How could a ship smaller than a shuttle produce more energy? "You are lying," said, though he was not sure if he was speaking to or to himself. On the screen, Cole seemed to hear words. His smile grew wider. "I assure you, High Commander, whatever your sensors are telling you is accurate. Probably. Human technology has advanced somewhat since you last observed us. We have been busy while you were ignoring us." Another officer approached. Her name was, and she was the chief tactical analyst. "High Commander, I recommend we send ships to intercept and board the human vessel. We need to examine their technology. If they have achieved breakthroughs beyond our understanding, the Empire must know." Nodded slowly. Yes, that made sense. Board the human ship, take their technology, execute the human for his insolence. That was the proper Imperial response. "Send 3 cruisers," ordered. "Disable the human vessel. Capture the crew alive if possible. I want to question this Cole personally." "Yes, High Commander." Within minutes, 3 Imperial cruisers broke away from the main fleet. Each cruiser was 500 meters long, armed with enough weapons to glass a planet. Against a single small human ship, it would be like using a hammer to crush an insect. Cole watched the approaching ships on his own screen. His expression did not change. He did not look worried. He did not try to run. Curious, the human said. I offer to help and you respond with aggression. I suppose I should have expected that. Your species does have a certain reputation. You will be silent, commanded. You are now a prisoner of the Empire. Not yet, Cole replied, and I would advise you to recall your ships for their own safety. You threaten Imperial vessels. With what? Your primitive human technology. The human sighed. It was a very human sound, thought, full of patience and perhaps a little sadness. This is not a threat, High Commander. It is a warning. I do not wish to harm your people, but I will defend myself if necessary, and your ships will not survive an engagement with the horizon. The cruisers were close now. Their weapons systems were charging. On the bridge of the Eternal Dominion, officers watched with anticipation. This would be over quickly. Fire, the cruiser captain ordered. 6 plasma beams lanced across space toward the human ship. Each beam carried enough energy to melt a mountain. They struck the human vessel directly. And nothing happened. The beams splashed against some kind of energy shield, a shield that glowed faintly gold. The human ship was completely undamaged. Impossible, whispered. Increase power, the cruiser captain ordered. All ships full barrage. Now all 3 cruisers fired everything they had. Missiles, energy weapons, kinetic projectiles, a storm of destruction that could have devastated a small moon. All of it struck the human ship. All of it was absorbed by the golden shield. Cole had not even moved from his chair. He was watching the attack with an expression of mild interest, like someone watching rain fall outside a window. Are you finished? He asked. Before anyone could respond, the human ship moved. It moved faster than anything had ever seen. One moment it was stationary. The next moment it was beside the first cruiser. There had been no acceleration, no buildup of speed. It had simply appeared there. What just happened? Demanded. Where did it go? It teleported, said. His voice was shaking. Short-range spatial displacement, that technology does not exist. It is theoretically impossible. The human ship was now directly next to the Imperial cruiser. Compared to the massive warship, it looked tiny. But then something emerged from the human vessel. Beams of light, but not like any weapon had ever seen. They were thin, precise, almost delicate. They cut through the cruiser like it was made of paper. In 3 seconds, the Imperial cruiser was in pieces. Its weapons were destroyed. Its engines were disabled. Its hull was carved into sections. But the life support areas were untouched. The crew was alive. The human had disabled the ship without killing anyone. The other 2 cruisers tried to retreat. They activated their hyperdrives, but the human ship was faster. It appeared next to each one in turn. The same precise beams, the same careful destruction. Within a minute, all 3 cruisers were floating dead in space. Thousands of soldiers, completely helpless, in ships that had been rendered into metal sculptures. The bridge of the Eternal Dominion was silent, could hear his own heart's beating. He had never seen anything like this. In his entire career, spanning centuries, he had never witnessed such a display of technological superiority. This was not possible. This should not be possible. Humans were primitives. They were weak. They were nothing. And yet, a single human ship had just defeated 3 Imperial cruisers, without taking any damage and without killing a single. Cole appeared on the screen again. His expression was still calm, still friendly, but now there was something else in his eyes. Something that made want to look away. I apologize for that demonstration, the human said. It was not my intention to cause harm. Your crews are alive. They will need rescue, but they will survive. I have been careful. Found his voice. It took effort. What are you? I am human, just a human, nothing more. No, humans cannot do what you just did. Humans do not have this technology. Cole stood from his chair. He walked closer to the camera. Now could see his face clearly. It was a young face, soft, fragile-looking, but the eyes were old, the eyes had seen things. High Commander, I am going to tell you something that your empire should have learned long ago. You have been watching humanity for centuries. You observed our planet. You monitored our early space travel. You decided we were primitive and weak. You ignored us. The human paused. That was a mistake. Explain yourself, demanded, though his voice had lost its authority. Your species and others like you have been traveling the stars for thousands of years. You have advanced slowly, steadily, following the normal patterns of technological development. You have achieved much, but you have also grown comfortable, stagnant. Cole smiled again. It was not a cruel smile, it was almost pitying. Humans are different. When we see a problem, we do not accept it. We do not work around it. We solve it. When we want something, we do not wait. We take it. In the few centuries since we achieved space travel, we have advanced faster than your empire has in. The technology you just witnessed is only a small sample of what humanity has achieved. That is impossible, said, but even he did not believe his own words anymore. Nothing is impossible to humans. That is the thing about us. We do not accept impossibility. We do not know how to give up, and we do not take kindly to being ignored. The human clasped his hands behind his back. He looked like a teacher addressing a slow student. Now then, as I said before, I am here to help. Your empire is at war. You are losing. They will consume your worlds one by one until nothing remains, unless someone stops them. And you believe you can stop with one ship. This ship, perhaps not, but I am not alone, High Commander. I am merely the first, an ambassador of sorts. Behind me there is the full might of the human fleet, ships that make the horizon look like a child's toy, technology that your empire cannot imagine, power that could end the threat in a matter of weeks. Stared at the human on the screen. His mind was racing. Everything he knew was wrong. Everything the empire believed was wrong. Humans were not weak. They were not primitive. They had been hiding, growing, advancing in the shadows while the galaxy ignored them. And now they had arrived. What do you want? Asked. It was the only question that mattered. Cole's smile softened. For a moment he looked almost human, truly human, vulnerable and honest. What do we want? We want what we have always wanted, High Commander, to not be alone, to find our place in the universe, to meet other species and learn from them, to share what we know, to help those who need help. He paused. Humanity is offering the Empire our friendship, our alliance, our protection. We ask only for respect in return, recognition that we are equals, not primitives to be ignored. Accept this, and together we will destroy thee and bring peace to this galaxy. Refuse and... He did not finish the sentence. He did not need to. Looked around the bridge. His officers were staring at him, waiting for his response. The fate of the Empire rested on what he said next. And for the first time in 10,000 years, the Empire did not know what to do. The human ship hung in space, small and silent, waiting for an answer. And across the galaxy, invisible and undetected, the rest of humanity waited too. The age of imperial dominance was over. Something new was beginning. The emergency council chamber on the Eternal Dominion was filled with the most powerful beings in the Empire. Fleet admirals, sector governors, military strategists who had won 1,000 campaigns. They sat around a massive circular table made of black stone, their faces lit by the holographic displays floating above them. High Commander stood at the head of the table. He had spent the last several hours reviewing the sensor data from the human ship's attack. He had watched the footage dozens of times. Each viewing made him more uncomfortable. What you are about to see, began, is classified at the highest level. No word of this leaves this chamber without my explicit permission. Understood? The assembled leaders nodded. They were curious, rarely called emergency meetings. The holographic display activated. It showed the human vessel. Then it showed the 3 Imperial cruisers approaching. Then it showed their destruction. No one spoke during the footage. When it ended, the silence continued for a long moment. Grand Admiral was the first to break it. She was old, older than, with scars from battles fought before most officers in the fleet were born. "This is a trick," she said. "Some kind of deception. Advanced holographic technology, perhaps. The humans could not possibly have weapons like this." "It is not a trick," replied. "I have had our best scientists analyze the data. The energy signatures are real. The spatial displacement is real. The 3 cruisers are currently being towed to repair stations. 1,900 soldiers can confirm what happened to them." "Then how?" demanded Governor, who ruled 17 systems in the Empire's eastern territory. "How did a primitive species develop technology that surpasses our own? We have been observing them. Our reports say they barely achieved interstellar travel." "Our reports were wrong," said simply. "Or perhaps they were right at the time, but things have changed. The human captain claims his species has advanced rapidly in recent centuries. He claims they have technology we cannot imagine." "He could be lying," Admiral said. "He could be, but I do not think he is." Pressed a button. A new image appeared on the display. It was a star map showing the region of space known as the Void Corridor. Red symbols marked the location of dozens of destroyed ships. "The human ship traveled through the Void Corridor to reach us. We have lost more than 60 vessels attempting to navigate that region over the past millennium. The humans did it without difficulty. This alone suggests their technology is far beyond what we believed." Military strategist leaned forward. He was younger than the others, known for his brilliant tactical mind. "What does the human want? He said he came to help. What kind of help? What price?" "He claims humanity wishes to form an alliance against the. He says the human fleet can end the threat in weeks. In exchange, he wants the Empire to recognize humans as equals." Laughter erupted around the table. It was not joyful laughter. It was nervous, uncomfortable. "Equals?" Governor scoffed. "We are the. We have ruled this galaxy for 10,000 years. We do not treat any species as equals." "Then perhaps," said quietly, "that needs to change." The laughter died immediately. "You cannot be serious," Admiral said. "You want us to accept these humans as equals, based on one ship and one demonstration." "I want us to survive," replied. His voice was firm. "They are advancing faster than we can stop them. We have lost more ships in the past year than in the previous century. If the humans truly have the power they claim, we would be fools to reject their offer." "And if this is a trap?" asked. "If the humans are working with the, if this is all some elaborate scheme to weaken us?" Had considered this. He had considered every possibility. "Then we are already dead. If the humans can do what we just witnessed, they do not need schemes or traps. They could destroy us whenever they wanted." That thought hung heavy in the air. The assembled leaders looked at each other. For the first time in memory, the rulers of the Empire felt fear. Far away, on the bridge of the horizon, Captain Cole was reviewing his own reports. The ship's artificial intelligence, which he called Arya, was providing him with analysis of the fleet. "Current Imperial strength in this sector is approximately 300 vessels," Arya reported. Her voice was calm and precise. "Primary threat assessment indicates they are operating at 62% combat effectiveness due to losses sustained against the." Nodded. He was standing near the main viewing window, watching the distant lights of the fleet. Even diminished, it was impressive. 300 ships of war, each one larger than the horizon. But size was not everything. Knew that better than anyone. "What about the?" he asked. "Forces are massing approximately 4 light-years from this position. Estimated strength is 500 primary vessels plus substantial support craft. They appear to be preparing for a major assault on the defensive line." How long? At current speeds, the fleet will arrive in approximately 18 hours. 18 hours, not much time, needed to make a decision soon. He turned away from the window and walked through the horizon's corridors. The ship was small compared to the massive vessels of the fleet, but it was home. He had commanded her for 15 years. He knew every panel, every wire, every secret compartment. The Horizon was officially classified as an exploration and contact vessel, but that was only part of her purpose. She was also a symbol, a demonstration of what humanity had become. Entered his private quarters. They were simple: a bed, a desk, a few personal items. On the wall hung a photograph of Earth taken from orbit: blue oceans, green continents, white clouds, home. He sat down at his desk and activated a communication panel. After a moment, a face appeared on the screen. It was an older woman with gray hair and sharp eyes, Admiral Wei, commander of the human fleet. She said, her voice was warm but concerned. "Report." "First contact established," replied. "The demonstration went as planned. 3 Imperial cruisers disabled, no casualties. They are currently debating how to respond." "And their reaction?" "Fear mostly, confusion. They did not expect us. They definitely did not expect what we could do." Admiral nodded slowly. "That was the point. How do you assess their leadership?" Considered the question. He had only spoken with High Commander briefly, but he was good at reading people, even alien people. "Is smart, practical. He understands the situation. I think he wants to accept our offer, but he has to convince his superiors. They have 10,000 years of pride working against them. Pride often dies quickly when survival is at stake. That is what I am counting on." Admiral leaned back in her chair. Behind her could see the interior of her command vessel. It was vast, powerful, one of the greatest warships humanity had ever built. "The fleet is standing by," she said. 150 vessels, full combat readiness. We can be at your position in minutes if needed." "I do not think it will come to that, but I appreciate the backup." Admiral's voice grew more serious. "I know how important this mission is to you. First contact with an advanced alien civilization. The chance to prove that humanity deserves a place among the stars. But do not let your idealism blind you. They may not be worthy of our help." "Everyone is worthy of help," replied quietly. "That is what we believe. That is what makes us different from them." A pause, then Admiral smiled. "You sound like your father." Felt a familiar pain in his chest. His father had been an explorer too, one of the first humans to travel beyond the solar system. He had dreamed of this moment, of the day humanity would finally meet other intelligent life. He had not lived to see it. "I hope I am making him proud," said. "You are, I promise you that." Admiral straightened. "Keep me informed, and be careful. They have ruled for 10,000 years. They did not achieve that by being nice." "I understand," Cole out. The communication ended. Sat in silence for a long moment, thinking about his father, thinking about Earth, thinking about everything that had led to this moment. Humanity's journey to the stars had not been easy. The early days of space exploration were filled with failure and tragedy. Ships lost to accidents, colonies destroyed by harsh conditions, thousands of lives sacrificed in the pursuit of a dream. But humans never gave up. They never accepted failure as final. Every setback was studied, analyzed, overcome. Every problem was solved. Every obstacle was conquered. Within 300 years of their first interstellar voyage, humans had developed technology that other species took to achieve. They cracked the secrets of faster-than-light travel. They developed energy shields that could withstand almost any attack. They built weapons of precision and power that made the weapons of older civilizations look like toys. And they had done it all in secret. The other advanced species had been watching humanity for centuries. They had seen a primitive civilization struggling with basic technology. They had decided humans were not a threat, not worth attention. They had made a mistake. What the observers saw was what humanity wanted them to see. The real advances, the true technological leaps were hidden, developed in secret facilities, tested in hidden corners of human space. The galaxy thought humanity was weak. Humanity let them think that. Until now, the decision to reveal themselves had not been made lightly. For decades, human leaders debated whether to remain hidden or to step onto the galactic stage. Some argued that secrecy was their greatest advantage. Why reveal their strength when they could continue to grow unnoticed? But others argued that secrecy had a cost. While humanity hid, billions of lives across the galaxy were lost to wars and suffering that humans could have prevented. Was it right to stand by and watch while civilizations burned? In the end, the invasion decided the matter. The Empire, for all its faults, protected thousands of worlds from the. If the Empire fell, those worlds would fall too. Billions more would die. Humanity could not allow that. So Cole was sent, a single ship, a single captain, to make first contact and offer an alliance that could save the galaxy. No pressure, thought to himself with a grim smile. He was pulled from his thoughts by Arya's voice. "Captain, the flagship is hailing us." Stood and straightened his uniform, put them through. High Commander appeared on the screen. He looked tired. The debate with his council must have been difficult. Captain Cole said, "We have discussed your offer." "And your decision?" Hesitated. For a moment, saw something in the alien's eyes that he recognized. The struggle between pride and practicality, between what he wanted to believe and what he knew was true. "We require more information," finally said. "You claim to represent a powerful fleet. You claim to have technology that can defeat but all we have seen is one ship." "That is fair," replied. "What would satisfy you?" "A demonstration, not against Imperial vessels but against themselves. Our sensors indicate a fleet is approaching this position. They will arrive in approximately 17 hours. If your technology is as powerful as you claim, prove it. Help us defend against this attack." Considered the request. It was reasonable, the wanted proof. They wanted to see human technology tested in real combat, not just against their own ships. "I accept," said. "The Horizon will fight alongside your fleet against the." His expression shifted, surprise, respect. It was hard to tell. "You agree, just like that. You do not need to consult with your superiors." "I have authority to make decisions in the field. Besides, this is why I came, to help. One ship against 500 vessels. You could be destroyed." Smiled. "With respect, High Commander, you do not yet understand what this ship can do. What I demonstrated earlier was the smallest fraction of our capabilities. Watch the battle tomorrow. Then you will understand." Was silent for a long moment. "Very well. I will inform the fleet to expect your assistance. But Captain Cole, know this. If this is some kind of trap, if you are playing games with the Empire, there will be consequences." "I expect nothing less." Cole out. The communication ended. Released a breath he had not realized he was holding. Arya spoke. "Captain, engaging a fleet of that size carries significant risk, even for us." "I know. You could request backup from the human fleet." "I could, but I will not." "May I ask why?" Walked to the viewing window. In the distance, he could see the ships beginning to form battle lines, hundreds of vessels preparing for a desperate defense. Because they need to see what one human ship can do. They need to understand that we are not offering help from a position of weakness. We are offering it from strength. If I call for backup, they will think we are afraid. They will think we need numbers to win. And we do not. Touched the glass of the window. Beyond it lay the vast darkness of space. The stars, the unknown, everything humanity had dreamed of for thousands of years. "One ship," he said quietly. "One human ship against 500. If we can win that battle, then we'll understand. The whole galaxy will understand." "Understand what?" Turned from the window, his eyes were determined, confident, ready. "That humanity is not here to ask permission. We are not here to beg for acceptance. We are here because this is our galaxy too, and anyone who threatens it threatens us." Arya processed this for a moment. "Understood, Captain. I will begin preparing weapons and defense systems." "Good, and Arya, play some music, something appropriate for the occasion." "Any preferences?" Smiled, "Something classical, something human." A moment later, the strains of symphony filled the ship. Music created hundreds of years ago, on a small planet that the galaxy had dismissed as unimportant. Music that spoke of struggle, of triumph, of the endless human will to survive and overcome. Tomorrow there would be battle. Tomorrow there would be fire and destruction and death. But tonight, in the silence of space, a single human ship drifted among the stars, playing music that no alien had ever heard. And inside that ship, one man prepared to show the galaxy what humanity truly was. The thought they ruled these stars. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The hours passed slowly. On the Eternal Dominion, officers worked frantically to prepare for the coming battle. Weapons were checked and rechecked. Shield systems were tested. Pilots received their final briefings. The mood was tense. Everyone knew the stakes. If this defensive line failed, they would push deeper into Imperial territory than ever before. And then there was the human ship. The Horizon sat at the edge of the fleet, silent and still. They watched it with a mixture of fear and curiosity. Could that small vessel really make a difference? Or was its captain mad to think he could fight a fleet alone? High Commander stood on his bridge, watching the sensor displays. The fleet was approaching right on schedule. 500 ships, millions of warriors, a force that could devastate worlds. "All ships report ready," an officer announced. "The human vessel has moved to the forward position." Raised an eyebrow, the forward position was the most dangerous. The first ships to meet the enemy, the first to die. "Hail the Horizon," ordered. Cole appeared on the screen. He looked calm, relaxed, as if he was about to go for a walk, not fight a battle for survival. "Captain Cole, you have positioned yourself at the front of the formation." "I have." "That is the most dangerous position." "I know." "You could stay in the rear, support our ships from a safe distance." Shook his head. "That is not how humans fight, High Commander. We do not hide behind others. We do not ask others to take risks we will not take ourselves. I will be the first to engage your ships will be safer that way." Did not know what to say. In 10,000 years, he had never seen an ally volunteer for the most dangerous position. Usually species begged to stay in the rear. Usually they had to be forced to fight. But this human was different. "Very well said. Good luck, Captain Cole." "Luck is a human invention," replied with a smile. "We make our own." The communication ended. Stared at the blank screen for a long moment. "High Commander," an officer asked, "your orders?" Turned back to the viewing window. In the distance, the first ships were becoming visible. Massive organic vessels like giant insects made of chitin and metal. They moved in waves, endless and hungry. "All ships," commanded, "prepare for battle." The final countdown had begun. And at the front of the Imperial fleet, a single human ship activated its weapon systems. Its shields glowed gold. Its engines hummed with power. Captain Cole sat in his chair, his eyes fixed on the approaching enemy. "Arya," he said quietly, "show them what we can do." "With pleasure, Captain." The battle for the galaxy was about to begin. They came like a swarm of hungry locusts. 500 ships, each one a twisted mass of organic material and stolen technology. They did not fly in formation like They surged forward in waves, each ship fighting for the chance to be the first to reach their prey. On the bridge of the Eternal Dominion, High Commander watched the approaching fleet with growing dread. His own forces were outnumbered almost 2-1. Their defensive line was strong, but strength meant little against the endless hunger of the "All ships report status," commanded. "All vessels at combat readiness, weapons charged, shields at maximum." "And the human ship?" There was a pause. Then, "The horizon has moved ahead of the formation, High Commander. It is accelerating toward the enemy fleet." What? Moved to the sensor display. The human ship was indeed racing forward, leaving the line far behind. It was heading directly into the heart of the swarm. Alone. "Captain Cole, what are you doing?" demanded through the communication channel. Cole's face appeared on screen. He was smiling, actually smiling as if he was enjoying himself. "I am doing what I promised, High Commander, showing you what humanity can do." "You are committing suicide. One ship cannot survive against that fleet." "Watch and learn." The channel closed, stared at the display in disbelief. The human was mad, completely mad. No single ship, no matter how advanced, could survive against 500 enemies. The first ships were now in range of the horizon. They opened fire. Hundreds of energy bolts and organic missiles streaked through space toward the human vessel. The attack was massive, overwhelming, enough to destroy a dozen Imperial cruisers. The horizon did not slow down, did not change course, did not even attempt to evade. "The human ship is about to be destroyed," an officer reported. But then something happened, something that no one on the Eternal Dominion had ever seen before. The horizon vanished. One moment it was there, a tiny dot racing toward certain death. The next moment, space was empty where it had been. "Where did it go?" demanded. "Find it." Sensors scanned frantically. The weapons found nothing to hit. Their shots passed through empty space and continued into the void. Then the horizon reappeared, but now it was inside the formation, right in the center, surrounded on all sides by enemy ships. And it began to fire. The weapons of the horizon were unlike anything that had ever witnessed. Beams of golden light shot from the human ship in every direction. Each beam struck a vessel. Each beam punched through chitin armor like it was paper. Each beam found the central core of the enemy ship and detonated it from within. In the first 3 seconds, 12 ships exploded. Then the horizon vanished again. It reappeared 2 kilometers away. More golden beams, more explosions, 8 more ships destroyed. "It is teleporting," whispered. "Teleporting in combat, that is impossible." But impossible was clearly a word that meant nothing to humans. They were confused. Their ships twisted and turned, trying to track the human vessel. But the horizon moved too fast. It appeared and disappeared faster than thought. Each appearance brought death. Each disappearance left chaos behind. In the first minute of combat, 47 ships were destroyed. The bridge crew watched in stunned silence. Officers who had fought 100 battles stood motionless, their eyes fixed on the display. What they were witnessing was not combat. It was art. A deadly, beautiful dance of destruction that no species in the galaxy could match. "High Commander," an officer said, her voice trembling. "The human ship is still not taking any damage. Its shields have not even fluctuated." Could not respond, he could only watch. On the horizon, Captain Cole worked with focused intensity. His hands moved across control panels with practiced ease. Around him, the ship responded to his commands as if it were an extension of his own body. "Arya status report. 47 vessels destroyed, 453 remaining. Our shields are at full capacity, weapons operating at optimal efficiency." "Good, let us increase the tempo." The horizon's movements became faster. Its attacks became more aggressive. Now it was destroying 10 ships, 15 ships, 20 ships at a time. The golden beams were everywhere. The fleet was coming apart. But they were not defeated yet. They were learning, adapting. That was what made them so dangerous. Unlike other species, they learned from every encounter. Every tactic used against them was analyzed and countered. The swarm began to change its behavior. Instead of chasing the horizon, the ships pulled back. They formed a tight sphere, covering each other from all angles. Wherever the horizon appeared, it would face fire from multiple directions. "They are adapting," Arya reported. "New defensive formation detected." "I see it," studied the enemy formation. "It was clever. There were fast learners, but humans were faster." "Arya, activate Protocol 7. "Are you sure, Captain? That protocol has never been tested in real combat." "No time like the present." The horizon changed. Its hull seemed to shimmer. Then impossibly the ship began to split apart. What had been one vessel became 2, then 4, then 8, then 16. 16 horizons now hung in space, identical in every way, each one moving independently, each one firing weapons. The formation collapsed into chaos. They could not defend against one ship that teleported randomly. They certainly could not defend against 16. On the Eternal Dominion, High Commander felt his knees go weak. He reached for the nearest console to steady himself. "Holographic projections," he asked hopefully. "Some kind of illusion." "Negative, High Commander." The sensor officer's voice was hollow. All 16 signatures read as physically real, same mass, same energy output, same weapons capability. "But that is not possible. You cannot duplicate matter. You cannot create ships from nothing." "Clearly humans can." The battle had become a slaughter. They could not defend against 16 enemies that teleported and fired in perfect coordination. Their ships were being destroyed faster than they could react. The organic vessels burned and broke and scattered into the void. Within 10 minutes, half the fleet was gone. The remaining ships did something they had never seen do before. They ran. The hive mind that controlled them made a decision that survival was more important than victory. They turned their ships and fled into hyperspace, retreating back the way they had come. The 16 horizons did not pursue. Instead, they rejoined, merging back into a single vessel. The human ship hung in space, surrounded by the wreckage of 250 ships. It was completely undamaged. Silence filled the bridge of the Eternal Dominion. No one knew what to say. No one knew what to think. Everything they believed about technology, about warfare, about the balance of power in the galaxy, had been proven wrong in the span of 10 minutes. A communication came through. Captain Cole appeared on screen. He looked tired but satisfied. "High Commander, the enemy has retreated. The battle is over." Found his voice. It took effort. "You destroyed half their fleet in 10 minutes, alone." It was a good workout. A workout? Could not believe what he was hearing. You just performed feats that should be impossible. Teleportation, ship duplication, weapons that penetrate armor like it is nothing, and you call it a workout. Cole shrugged, a very human gesture that somehow conveyed both modesty and pride. "I told you, High Commander, human technology has advanced. What you saw today is what one ship can do. Imagine what 100 ships could do. Imagine 1,000. Imagined it. He did not like what he imagined. "Your offer of alliance," said carefully, "is it still on the table?" "It is." "I will take it to the Imperial Council myself. I will recommend acceptance." Cole's expression softened. "I appreciate that, High Commander, and I appreciate that this cannot be easy for you. Your empire has ruled for 10,000 years. Accepting that another species is your equal, or perhaps your superior, must be difficult." Superior, tasted the word, it was bitter. "Is that what you are, our superiors?" "I did not say that, I said, or perhaps. Humanity does not want to rule the galaxy. We do not want to replace the empire. We want partners, friends, allies. Is that so hard to believe? In my experience, yes. Every species wants power. Every species wants to dominate. Cole leaned forward. His eyes were intense, serious. Then let me tell you something about humans, High Commander. Our history is filled with violence, with conquest, with empires rising and falling. We have done terrible things to each other. We have nearly destroyed ourselves more than once, but we have also learned. We have grown. We understand now that true power does not come from domination. It comes from cooperation, from lifting others up instead of pushing them down. Pretty words. Words I believe with all my heart. I could have destroyed your 3 cruisers when they attacked me. I disabled them instead. I could have let them destroy your fleet today. I fought for you instead. Does that seem like the behavior of a species seeking dominance? Had no answer. The human was right. Every action he had taken showed restraint, mercy, a desire to help rather than harm. I must consult with my government, finally said. This decision is too important for me to make alone. I understand. Take whatever time you need. The horizon will remain in this sector. I am at your service. The communication ended, turned to face his officers. They were all watching him, waiting for guidance. He was their leader. He was supposed to have answers. But today had no answers, only questions. Clear the bridge, he ordered. I need to think. The officers filed out, leaving alone. He walked to the main viewing window and stared out at the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth, the small planet that had produced these impossible humans, the world that the Empire had dismissed as insignificant. What else had the Empire been wrong about? The next several days were tense. Messages flew between the Eternal Dominion and the Imperial capital on Prime. The Council of Elders, the ruling body of the Empire, debated endlessly. Some demanded that the human ship be destroyed before more arrived. Others argued for acceptance of the alliance. Many simply refused to believe the reports they were receiving. Finally, a decision was made. High Commander received the message personally. He read it 3 times to make sure he understood. They have agreed, he said quietly. His aide looked up in surprise. The council accepted the human offer. Conditionally. They want to meet with Captain Cole. They want him to come to Prime and address the council directly. They want assurances that humanity's intentions are peaceful. And if he refuses, then the alliance dies before it begins. Opened a channel to the horizon. Cole answered immediately. High Commander, good news. Of a sort. The Imperial Council wishes to meet with you. They want to hear your offer directly. Considered this a reasonable request. I accept. You accept just like that. You would travel into the heart of the Empire, alone. I would not be alone. I would be among potential friends. Shook his head slowly. You are either very brave or very foolish, Captain Cole. Humans have been called both throughout our history, usually at the same time, smiled. When should I depart? Immediately, if possible. I will provide escort ships for your protection. That is kind of you, but unnecessary. The horizon can protect itself. I noticed, but the council insisted. They want to show that they are taking this seriously. Nodded, then I will accept your escort, as a gesture of good faith. Within the hour the horizon was. 10 Imperial warships surrounded it, their sensors constantly monitoring the human vessel. They traveled through hyperspace for 3 days. During that time spent most of his hours studying, learning about culture, their history, their traditions. He wanted to understand the people he was asking to trust him. Arya helped, providing summaries and analyses. The place great importance on strength and honor, she reported. Their society is hierarchical. Respect is earned through demonstrated power and achievement. Then I have earned some respect, said. Defeating half a fleet alone would earn respect in most cultures. What about their fears? What are they afraid of? Their greatest fear appears to be irrelevance. For 10,000 years, They have been the dominant power in the galaxy. The idea that another species might surpass them is deeply threatening to their identity. Nodded thoughtfully. Then I need to show them that humanity's rise does not mean their fall, that we can be strong together. That may be difficult. Their entire culture is based on superiority. Cultures can change, people can change. It takes time and patience, but it is possible. You have great faith in other species. Looked out the window at the streaming lights of hyperspace. I have faith in all intelligent beings. We are all trying to find our way in a vast and confusing universe. We all want the same things: safety, purpose, connection. They are no different. They have just been alone for so long that they have forgotten what it is like to have equals. And you intend to remind them. I intend to try. The journey continued. The Imperial escort ships reported the humans' behavior to High Command. He had made no threatening moves. He had not attempted to scan their systems or probe their defenses. He simply traveled peacefully, as promised. When they finally arrived at Prime, Cole got his first look at the heart of the Empire. The planet was enormous, twice the size of Earth. Its surface was covered with cities that gleamed with silver and gold. Orbital stations surrounded it like a ring of jewels. Ships of every size moved constantly, arriving and departing. This was the capital of 10,000 years of civilization, the center of an empire that had ruled unchallenged since before humanity had discovered fire. And a single human was about to change everything. "Captain Cole," a voice came through the communication system. "You are cleared to land at the central spire. The council awaits you." Took a deep breath. This was the moment he had prepared for his entire life, the moment humanity had been building toward for centuries. "Arya, maintain position in orbit. If anything happens to me, you know what to do." "I do, Captain, but nothing will happen to you. You are too important." "Everyone is important, Arya. That is the whole point." He entered the shuttle bay and climbed into a small landing craft. As he descended toward the planet, he saw the central spire rising above the city. It was massive, a tower of crystal and metal that reached toward the clouds. Inside that tower, the rulers of the galaxy waited. The landing craft touched down on a platform near the tower's base. A delegation of officials was waiting. They were dressed in formal robes, their expressions carefully neutral. Was among them. Stepped out of the craft. He was wearing his formal uniform, black with gold trim. On his chest was the symbol of Earth, a simple blue circle representing the planet he called home. He was the smallest person present. They towered over him by at least a meter. Their eyes looked down at him with a mixture of curiosity and wariness. But did not feel small, he felt ready. Captain Cole announced, "Welcome to Prime." Bowed slightly, a gesture of respect he had learned from his research. "Thank you, High Commander. I'm honored to be here. The Council is waiting. Please follow me." They entered the central spire. The interior was vast and beautiful. Crystal walls reflected light in dazzling patterns. Statues of ancient heroes lined the corridors. Everything was designed to inspire awe, to remind visitors of the Empire's power and history. Appreciated it all, but he was not intimidated. He had seen wonders too, human wonders that they could not imagine. They climbed to the top of the spire. There, in a circular chamber with walls of transparent crystal, the Council of Elders waited. 12 ancients sat on elevated thrones, their eyes fixed on the small human walking toward them. The leader of the council was Elder. He was old beyond reckoning, his scales faded to pale gray. But his eyes were sharp, intelligent, dangerous. "So," Elder said, his voice echoing through the chamber, "this is the human who claims to be our equal." Stopped in the center of the chamber. He stood alone, surrounded by the most powerful beings in the galaxy, and he smiled. "I make no claims, Elder. I simply speak the truth. Humanity is ready to take its place among the stars. We offer friendship and alliance to all who will accept it. We ask only for respect in return. Respect must be earned. I believe we have earned it. The battle against the demonstrated what one human ship can do. Would you like me to demonstrate what many ships could do? The threat was subtle, implied rather than stated, but every in the chamber understood it. Elder leaned forward. And if we refuse your offer, if we decide that humans are a threat to be eliminated? Cole did not flinch, did not look away. His voice was calm and steady. Then you would be making a terrible mistake. But the choice is yours. Humanity does not seek conflict. We never have, but we will not be bullied, we will not be dismissed, and we will not disappear. The chamber was silent. The council exchanged glances. Finally, Elder spoke again. Tell us, human, tell us about your kind. Help us understand why we should trust you. Nodded, and he began to speak. He spoke of Earth and its history. He spoke of humanity's struggles and triumphs. He spoke of their dreams and fears. He spoke for hours, answering every question, addressing every concern. And slowly, something began to change in the eyes of the council. The suspicion faded. The fear diminished. What replaced it was something new, something that they had not felt toward another species in 10,000 years. Curiosity, interest, perhaps even the beginnings of respect. The fate of the galaxy hung in the balance, and a single human was tipping the scales. Cole spoke to the council for 3 days. He answered hundreds of questions. He showed them recordings of Earth, images of human cities and natural wonders. He played them music and showed them art. He explained human philosophy and values. He held nothing back. The council listened. They argued among themselves. They consulted advisors. They prayed to their ancient gods. This was the most important decision their species had ever faced. On the 4th day, elders summoned to the council chamber for the final time. The 12 elders sat in their thrones. Their faces were unreadable, stood before them, alone as always. He had refused any escort, any protection. He wanted to show that he trusted them. Elder rose from his throne. He moved slowly, his ancient body creaking with age. But when he spoke, his voice was strong. Captain Cole, you have come to us with an offer of alliance. You have demonstrated your species' power. You have shared your history and your values. Now the time has come for our decision. Waited, his heart was pounding, but his face remained calm. The council has debated longer and harder than on any decision in our history. Some of us remain suspicious. Some fear that humanity's rise means our fall. Some believe you are lying about your intentions. Elder paused. He looked at with eyes that had seen civilizations rise and crumble. But most of us have reached a different conclusion. We believe that you are telling the truth. We believe that humanity genuinely wishes for peace and cooperation. And we believe that refusing your offer would be the greatest mistake we have ever made. Felt hope rising in his chest, but he kept his expression neutral. The decision was not yet announced. The Empire, Elder continued, has stood alone for 10,000 years. We have ruled this galaxy through strength and will. We have crushed every challenger. We have accepted no equals. The old elder walked down from his throne. He approached until they stood face to face. Despite his age, still towered over the human. But perhaps, said quietly, we have been wrong. Perhaps strength is not only about domination. Perhaps true power comes from knowing when to accept help, when to make friends instead of enemies. He extended his hand, a gesture of peace and respect that had learned about in his studies. The council accepts your offer. The Empire agrees to an alliance with humanity, as equals. Took the offered hand. His grip was firm, confident. On behalf of Earth and all human worlds, I accept. May this be the beginning of a long and prosperous friendship. The council chamber erupted. Advisors and officials who had been watching from the sides rushed forward. Questions were shouted. Congratulations offered. History was being made, and everyone wanted to be part of it. But amid the chaos, Elder leaned close to and whispered something only he could hear. "I hope we have made the right choice, human, for both our sakes." "You have," whispered back. "I promise you that." The news of the alliance spread across the galaxy like fire. Within hours, every world in the Empire knew that they had accepted humans as equals. Reactions varied. Some celebrated, others protested. Many simply did not know what to think. But the most significant reaction came from deep in the dark regions of space where no light reached. The hive mind received the news. It processed the information through billions of networked minds. It analyzed. It calculated. It decided. They had been defeated by a single human ship. If humans and joined forces, they would be destroyed. This could not be allowed. The hive mind issued new orders. Every ship, every warrior, every weapon. They would all converge on Prime. They would destroy the heart of the Empire before the alliance could solidify. They would burn the planet to ash and scatter its people to the void. It was the largest fleet ever assembled. 3,000 ships, billions of warriors, a force that could conquer half the galaxy. And it was coming. Was in a guest chamber at the central spire when the alarm sounded. Red lights flashed. Warning sirens echoed through the corridors. He immediately contacted the Horizon. "Arya, report. Captain, our long-range sensors have detected a massive fleet approaching. Estimated strength is 3,000 vessels. Arrival time is approximately 4 hours. 3,000 ships." Felt his stomach tighten. That was far more than he had expected, far more than he could handle alone. "Contact the human fleet. Inform Admiral of the situation. Request immediate assistance." "Already done, Captain. The fleet is mobilizing, but at maximum speed they cannot arrive for at least 6 hours. 2 hours too late." Rushed to the council chamber. The elders were already gathered, receiving reports from panicked officers. Holographic displays showed the approaching armada. It was enormous, a wall of death heading straight for their world. "Captain Cole," Elder called out, "tell us this can be stopped. Tell us your technology can defeat this." Looked at the displays. He did quick calculations in his head. 1 ship against 3,000. Even the Horizon had limits. "I can slow them down," he said. "I can hurt them, but I cannot stop an armada this size alone. My fleet is coming, but they will not arrive in time." Panic spread through the chamber. Council members argued and shouted. Some demanded evacuation. Others called for surrender. The calm dignity of them was cracking under the pressure of certain death. "Enough," High Commander's voice cut through the noise. He had arrived moments before. We do not panic, we fight." "Fight with what?" Elder demanded. "We have 300 ships in this system. They have 3,000. Even with the human ship, we cannot win." "Then we lose with honor. We make them pay for every meter they advance. We show them that they do not fall easily." Watch the exchange. He admired courage. But courage alone would not save Prime. They needed something more. "There might be another option," said quietly. Every eye turned to him. "Your fleet cannot defeat neither can I alone. But together we might be able to hold them long enough for reinforcements to arrive." "Hold them for 2 hours against 3,000 ships," an elder laughed bitterly. "Impossible." "I have learned not to use that word," replied. "The Horizon has certain capabilities I have not yet demonstrated. Defensive systems that can protect a large area of space. If your fleet coordinates with mine, if you follow my tactical instructions exactly, we have a chance." "A chance? You are asking us to gamble the fate of our on a chance." "I am asking you to trust me. You agreed to accept humanity as equals. This is what that means. Working together, fighting together, winning or losing together." The council chamber fell silent. The elders looked at each other. Fear was visible in their eyes, fear and something else. Hope, perhaps. the desperate hope of beings facing extinction. Elder spoke, "What do you need?" Walked to the main display. He began issuing orders as if he had been commanding fleets his entire life. Move all ships to a defensive sphere around the planet. Position the heaviest cruisers at the front, smaller vessels in support roles. No ship fires until I give the command. We need to time our attack perfectly. And the horizon. The horizon will be the center of the formation. I will extend our shields to cover as many of your ships as possible. It will not protect everyone, but it will give us an edge. Nodded, I will coordinate the fleet personally. High Commander, one more thing, they adapt quickly. They learn from every engagement. We need to change tactics constantly. Never use the same approach twice. Keep them guessing. How do we do that? Smiled grimly. I will teach you. We have 4 hours. That is enough time for a quick lesson in human warfare. The next 4 hours were the most intense of his long career. Cole demonstrated military tactics that they had never imagined. Feints and misdirection. Coordinated strikes followed by sudden retreats. Using enemy expectations against them. Fighting not just with weapons but with psychology. They expect you to fight like, explained. Directly, honorably, predictably. We will do the opposite. We will be unpredictable. We will appear weak when we are strong. We will attack where they do not expect. We will make them fear every shadow and doubt every sensor reading. This is deception, said slowly. It feels wrong. It is survival. There is no honor in dying when you could have lived. Save your honor for after the battle, when you are alive to appreciate it. Considered this. It went against everything he had been taught, but the human was right. Dead soldiers had no honor, only living ones. Very well, I will teach my captains your methods. Good, and one more thing. Yes. Placed a hand on the alien's shoulder, a gesture of friendship that crossed the gap between species. Your people have fought bravely for 10,000 years. Today, they will fight alongside humans for the first time. Make sure they know that we are proud to stand with them. Make sure they know that whatever happens, humanity will remember the courage of the... Felt something shift inside him. This small creature, this human, was unlike anyone he had ever met. He spoke of courage and honor, but also of friendship and cooperation. He was a warrior, but also a diplomat. He was strong, but also kind. Perhaps thought, humans, and we're not so different after all. I will tell them, promised. They will know. The hours passed too quickly. Before anyone was ready, sensors detected the fleet emerging from hyperspace. The enemy had arrived. 3,000 ships filled the void. They were countless, endless, a tide of death that seemed to stretch forever. The fleet looked tiny in comparison. 300 ships plus one human vessel against an armada that had conquered 1,000 worlds. On the bridge of the horizon, Cole watched the enemy approach. His face was calm, but his mind was racing through calculations and possibilities. He had fought against difficult odds before, but never like this. Arya, extend shields to maximum range. Cover as many ships as possible. Extending now, Captain. I can protect approximately 60% of the fleet. That will have to be enough. The golden shield spread outward from the horizon. It wrapped around the Allied formation like a protective bubble. Captains watched in amazement as the human energy field extended over their ships. All ships, his voice came through every communication channel in the fleet. Today we fight alongside a new ally, a species that has shown us courage, power, and friendship. Whatever happens in the next hours, know that you represent the finest of the. Know that you fight for your families, your world, your empire. And know that you do not fight alone. A cheer rose from every ship. Despite the impossible odds, they were ready to fight, ready to die if necessary, but also ready to win. Opened his own channel. This is Captain Cole to all Allied vessels. They think they have already won. They think their numbers make them invincible, but numbers are not everything. Skill matters, courage matters, and the will to never give up matters most of all. Today we show them what the alliance of humanity can achieve. Today we make history. The fleet began its advance. They moved in their typical swarm formation, thousands of ships surging forward without coordination or strategy. They relied on overwhelming force, on crushing their enemies through sheer numbers. This time, that would not be enough. First wave approaching, Arya reported. Approximately 200 ships. Let them come. All ships hold position, hold fire. The vanguard rushed toward the Allied formation. They expected to charge to meet them as they always did. They expected a straightforward battle of attrition that they would inevitably win. Instead, the Allied ships remained motionless, silent. The golden shield shimmered around them, waiting. They opened fire. Hundreds of weapons discharged at once. Energy beams and organic missiles slammed into the human shield. The golden barrier flickered but held. Shields at 92%, Arya reported. They are hitting harder than expected. Noted, all ships prepare for counterattack, on my mark. They continued their assault, pouring fire into the shield. They were so focused on their attack that they did not notice the subtle movements in the Allied formation. Cruisers were repositioning, shifting, preparing. Mark! 60 ships fired simultaneously, but they did not aim at the attacking vessels. They fired past them, into the space behind the vanguard. Energy beams crossed the void and struck the second wave of ships that were just beginning their approach. They were caught completely off guard. Ships exploded. Formations scattered. The vanguard, realizing too late that they had walked into a trap, tried to retreat, but the Allied fleet was already moving. The horizon teleported. It appeared behind the vanguard, cutting off their escape. Golden beams flashed. Ships died. The cruisers surged forward, catching the enemy between two forces. In 3 minutes, the first wave was destroyed. 200 ships reduced to wreckage without a single Allied loss. On the command vessel, the hive mind processed this unexpected result. It analyzed the tactics used against it. It began to adapt, but was already changing strategies. Second wave incoming, Arya reported. 500 ships. They have altered their formation, more spread out, harder to trap. Acknowledged, time for something different. Opened a channel to the fleet. All ships scatter pattern delta. Draw them in, then converge on my signal. The Allied fleet suddenly broke apart. Ships flew in different directions, appearing to flee in panic. They saw this and pursued. Each vessel chased its nearest target, spreading the swarm thin. That was exactly what wanted. Now converge. The fleeing ships suddenly reversed course. They came together in small groups, each group surrounding a cluster of pursuing. The hunters became the hunted. Isolated ships found themselves outnumbered and overwhelmed. Meanwhile, the horizon had vanished again. It reappeared at the edge of the battlefield, behind the main fleet. It began firing into their rear, destroying supply ships and command vessels. The hive mind struggled to respond. It issued orders, but the battle was moving too fast. By the time it adapted to one tactic, the Allies had already switched to another. Human unpredictability combined with firepower was proving devastating. 1 hour into the battle, they had lost 800 ships. The Allies had lost only 20. But the numbers were still overwhelming. 2,200 vessels remained, and they were learning, adapting. Each new tactic became less effective as the hive mind incorporated countermeasures. They are getting smarter, reported. His voice was strained. The last hour had been the most intense combat he had ever experienced. They always do, replied, but we have more tricks. How many more? Enough, I hope. The battle continued. The second hour was harder than the first. They had figured out the Allied tactics. They were coordinating better, covering each other's weaknesses. The casualty rate was rising. The Horizon's shields dropped to 70%, then 60, then 50. Arya reported damage to secondary systems. The human ship was not invincible after all. Captain, at current rate of shield degradation, we have approximately 45 minutes before failure. Then we need to end this in 40 minutes. That seems unlikely given current tactical situation. Arya, what have I taught you about that word? That humans do not accept impossible, but mathematics suggests. Mathematics can be wrong, belief cannot. Keep fighting. The third hour began. The Allies were exhausted, ships damaged, crews pushed beyond endurance. They kept coming, endless, relentless. For every ship destroyed, two more took its place. But then at the darkest moment, something changed. New contacts appeared on sensors, ships emerging from hyperspace at the edge of the system, ships that they did not recognize. Ships of the human fleet. Admiral Wei's voice filled every Allied communication channel. This is the human fleet to Allied forces. Sorry we are late. Traffic was terrible. 150 human vessels entered the battlefield. They were sleek and deadly, each one carrying technology that made the weapons look primitive. They attacked in perfect coordination, cutting through the enemy lines like knives through paper. The hive mind felt something it had never felt before. Fear, true existential fear. It had committed everything to this assault, its largest fleet, its best warriors, and it was losing. The order went out: retreat, survive, flee. But the human fleet was faster. Ship after ship teleported to cut off escape routes. The armada was surrounded, trapped. Their numbers meant nothing when they could not run. The battle became a rout. Ships were destroyed by the hundreds. The survivors fought desperately, but there was no escape, no mercy. For the first time in their history, they faced an enemy they could not defeat. By the time the battle ended, only a handful of ships remained. They surrendered, another first. They had never surrendered to anyone. Prime was saved. The alliance was forged in fire and blood, and the galaxy would never be the same. On the bridge of the Horizon, Cole collapsed into his chair. He was exhausted beyond words. The battle had pushed him to his limits and beyond. But they had won. Against impossible odds, they had won. Captain, Arya said, Admiral is requesting communication. Smiled weakly, put her through. Admiral appeared on screen. She looked as tired as felt, but she was smiling. You look terrible, she said. Thank you, I feel terrible. You did good, damn good. Holding 3,000 ships with 301 vessel. Your father would be proud. We had help, they fought brilliantly. I noticed, seems like your alliance is working out. Looked out the viewing window. In the distance he could see Prime. The planet was intact, millions of lives saved. It is a start, he said, only a start. There is a lot more work to do. There always is, but today celebrate, you have earned it. The communication ended. Sat in silence for a long moment, watching the stars. Humanity had come so far, from a small planet in a quiet corner of the galaxy to this moment, standing alongside ancient empires, fighting impossible battles, making the impossible possible. And this was only the beginning. The galaxy was changing. Humanity was changing it, not through conquest or domination, but through courage, cooperation, and a stubborn refusal to accept defeat. Whatever came next, knew one thing for certain. Humanity was ready. The celebrations lasted for 7 days. On Prime and across every world in the Empire, people rejoiced. The threat had been broken. There was safe. And they had new allies who had proven their worth in the fires of battle. Cole became a hero. They had never celebrated an outsider before, but they made an exception for the human who had saved their world. His image appeared on screens across the planet. Children wanted to grow up to be like him. Veterans who had fought alongside him told stories of his impossible tactics and unshakable courage. but was uncomfortable with the attention. He had not come to the Empire for glory. He had come for something more important. On the 8th day after the battle, he requested a private meeting with Elder. They met in a small garden at the top of the central spire, surrounded by alien flowers and the sounds of strange birds singing. Elder looked different than before. The suspicion in his eyes was gone, replaced by genuine warmth. "Captain Cole, or should I call you? After what we have been through together, perhaps formality is unnecessary." "Is fine, I prefer it actually." They walked together through the garden. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. "You wish to speak with me privately," said. "Is something troubling you?" "Not troubling, but there are things I need to explain. Things about humanity that the Council should understand before our alliance moves forward." "I am listening." Stopped at the edge of the garden. Below them, the city stretched to the horizon, millions of lives going about their business, unaware that the course of galactic history was being shaped above them. The belief that humans were primitive, weak, insignificant, that belief was wrong, but it was not entirely your fault. "What do you mean?" "Humanity has been aware of the wider galaxy for longer than you know. We detected your observation post centuries ago. We knew you were watching us." Elder's eyes widened slightly. "You knew." "We knew, and we made a choice. We chose to appear weak, to seem primitive. We wanted the galaxy to underestimate us." "But why? What was the purpose of such deception?" Turned to face the old elder. His expression was serious, honest. "Because we were afraid. Not of the specifically, but of what contact with advanced civilizations might mean for our species. We had studied our own history. We knew what happened when more advanced societies encountered less advanced ones. The results were rarely good for the weaker group. You thought we would conquer you. We thought it was possible, so we hid our true capabilities. We developed our technology in secret. We prepared for the day when hiding would no longer be possible, and we waited for the right moment to reveal ourselves." Elder was silent for a long moment. "The war. You chose this moment because we needed you." "Yes, we wanted our first contact to be positive. We wanted to come as saviors, not as threats. We wanted to earn trust, not demand it." "That is remarkably calculated." "That is humanity. We plan, we prepare, we look ahead. It is how we survived our harsh world. It is how we thrived when other species might have failed." Elder considered this information. Part of him was disturbed by the revelation. Humanity had been manipulating events for centuries. They had let the galaxy underestimate them while they grew strong in secret. But another part of him understood. Survival required adaptation. It required strategy. Humanity had done what was necessary to protect themselves. Could he really blame them for that? "Why tell me this?" asked. "You could have kept this secret forever. No one would have known." "Because I believe in honesty between allies. Our alliance will not work if it is built on lies and deception. You need to know who we really are. You need to understand that humanity is not just a species of warriors and scientists. We are also a species of planners and schemers. We think ahead. We prepare for possibilities that others dismiss. And we never, ever stop fighting for our survival." Elder nodded slowly. "I appreciate your honesty, though I admit it makes me somewhat nervous about the future." "It should. Humanity is going to change this galaxy. We cannot help it. It is who we are. But we want those changes to be good ones. We want to build something better than what exists now. Not an empire of conquest, but a community of equals. Not domination, but cooperation." "A beautiful vision. One we are willing to fight for, as we demonstrated last week." They stood in silence as the sun finished setting. Stars began to appear in the darkening sky. So many stars, so many worlds, so many possibilities. "There is something else you should know," said quietly. "Something about the—" "What about them?" "They are not gone. The fleet we destroyed was their largest, but not their only one. There are more in the depths of space, more hives, more worlds. This war is not over. I suspected as much. They do not give up easily. No, but neither do humans. Admiral has already begun planning a campaign to track down the remaining forces. With your permission, human and ships will work together to end this threat once and for all. You want to take the fight to them. I want to ensure they can never threaten anyone again. They have caused too much suffering, too many deaths. It is time to end that, permanently. Elder saw something in the human's eyes that he had not noticed before, a hardness, a determination that went beyond mere courage. Humans were kind and generous, yes, but they were also capable of something they rarely practiced: ruthlessness. When they decided that something needed to be destroyed, they destroyed it completely. It was both impressive and frightening. The council will discuss your proposal, said carefully, but I expect they will agree. After what you did for us, there is little we would refuse. Thank you, that means a great deal. They walked back through the garden toward the main building. As they reached the door, stopped and placed a hand on shoulder. I must admit something to you. When you first arrived, I was one of those who wanted to destroy your ship. I thought you were a threat, an arrogant primitive who needed to be put in his place. I know, your face was not hard to read. I was wrong, about humans, about you specifically. I have ruled this empire for longer than your species has existed. I have seen countless civilizations rise and fall. I thought I understood the nature of intelligent life. Now I realize I understood nothing. You are too hard on yourself. Perhaps, but I want you to know that I am grateful, not just for saving our world, but for teaching me that there is still wonder in this old universe, that there are still surprises left for an ancient creature like myself. Smiled. The universe is full of surprises, Elder. Humanity has learned that lesson many times. Each time we think we understand everything, we discover how much more there is to learn. Wise words from someone so young. I had good teachers. They parted at the entrance to the spire. Elder returned to the endless work of running an empire, returned to his ship where Admiral was waiting for him. The human fleet was still in orbit around Prime, 150 vessels plus the horizon. They were the most powerful force the galaxy had ever seen, but they did not look threatening. They looked peaceful, patient, ready to help or fight as needed. Admiral met in his quarters aboard the horizon. She had a bottle of something in her hand. Champagne, she explained. I brought it from Earth, been saving it for a special occasion. I would say this qualifies. She poured 2 glasses. They raised them in a toast. To humanity, said, to our place among the stars. To friendship, added, new and old. They drank. The champagne was excellent, a taste of home in the vast emptiness of space. So, said, setting down her glass, what is next for the famous Captain Cole? Famous, I hope not. I have no interest in fame. Too late. You are the face of human relations. Get used to it. Sighed. He had known this might happen, but that did not make it easier. What is next, he said slowly, is building something lasting. The alliance is signed. They are retreating, but the real work is just beginning. What kind of work? Understanding, cultural exchange, learning to see each other not as aliens but as people. They have 10,000 years of pride to overcome. We have centuries of paranoia and secrecy. Both sides need to change. That sounds like a lot of diplomacy. It is, and I am probably the worst person for the job. I am a starship captain, not an ambassador. Laughed. You could have fooled me. The way you handled the council, the way you talked to Elder, you are a natural diplomat. I just told them the truth. And that is exactly what makes you good at this. You do not play games. You do not manipulate. You speak honestly and let people make their own decisions. That is rare. That is valuable. Considered her words. Perhaps she was right. Perhaps honesty was a kind of diplomacy. Perhaps the best way to build trust was simply to be trustworthy. "There is another reason I wanted to talk to you," said. Her tone grew more serious. "The government has been discussing what comes next. They have a proposal for you." "What kind of proposal?" "They want to create a new position, ambassador to the galactic community, someone to represent humanity to all the species we will encounter as we expand into the galaxy, someone to make first contact, to build alliances, to speak for our species." Felt his heart beat faster. "And they want me for this position." "You are the obvious choice. You made first contact with you proved yourself in battle. You earned the trust of an ancient empire in less than 2 weeks. No one else has those qualifications." "What about you? You are the admiral of the fleet. You have more experience than I do." Shook her head. "I am a military commander. I think in terms of strategy and force. You think differently. You see possibilities that others miss. You connect with people in ways that I cannot." "I do not know what to say." "Say yes. The galaxy needs you. Humanity needs you." Looked out the window at the stars. So many worlds out there. So many species waiting to be discovered. Some would be friendly. Others would be dangerous. All would need someone to represent humanity. Someone to show them who humans really were. His father had dreamed of this moment. He had spent his life exploring, hoping that one day humanity would find its place in the universe. He had died before seeing that dream come true. But could fulfill that dream. He could carry his father's legacy forward into the unknown. "Yes," he said finally, "I accept." Smiled. "Good. I will inform the government. Congratulations, Ambassador Cole." "That sounds strange." "You will get used to it." They talked for another hour, discussing plans and possibilities, then returned to her flagship, leaving alone with his thoughts. He sat in his chair on the bridge of the horizon. Arya was running system checks, her voice a comforting presence in the quiet ship. "Captain," she said, "I mean, Ambassador, I have detected some unusual activity in the outer system." "What kind of activity?" "Unknown vessels emerging from hyperspace. Configuration does not match or designs. I count 17 ships." Leaned forward. "New ships, unknown designs. This was unexpected." "Can you identify them?" "Working on it now. The vessels appear to be broadcasting a signal, a greeting of some kind." "What does it say?" Arya paused, processing the signal. When she spoke again, there was something like surprise in her synthetic voice. "The message is addressed to the human ship Horizon. It says, 'We have watched your actions against we are impressed. We wish to speak with you about matters of mutual interest. We come in peace.'" Stared at the sensor display. 17 unknown ships, a message of peace, more aliens wanting to talk. This was what he had hoped for. This was why humanity had revealed itself, to meet others, to learn, to grow. "Open a channel," he said. "Let us say hello." The activated. A face appeared. Not something entirely new. A being with iridescent skin and 6 eyes arranged in a circle around its head. It looked at with what might have been curiosity. "Greetings, human," the alien said. "I am called Sovereign of the Collective of Peaceful Minds. We have traveled far to meet you. We have questions, many questions about your species, about your intentions, about your technology." "Ask whatever you like," replied. "Humanity has nothing to hide, not anymore." An interesting statement. Most species hide their weaknesses. Humanity does not have weaknesses. We have challenges, and we overcome challenges. It is what we do. The Sovereign made a sound that might have been laughter. "You are bold for such a young species. We have existed for 1,000,000 years. We have seen empires rise and fall. We have learned to be cautious." 1,000,000 years, that is impressive. "Tell me about your people. Tell me about your collective." And so began a new conversation. A new friendship, perhaps, or a new challenge. did not know which it would be. He only knew that humanity would face whatever came. The word had spread across the galaxy now. A new species had emerged, young and confident and impossibly powerful. A species that did not conquer but cooperated, that did not threaten but offered friendship. A species that had hidden in plain sight for centuries and then burst onto the galactic stage in a blaze of glory. Humanity had arrived. Across the stars, in ancient halls and hidden chambers, the rulers of 1,000 species discussed what this meant. Some were afraid, some were excited. All knew that the balance of power had shifted forever. On Earth, celebrations continued. Humanity's children looked up at the night sky with new eyes. Those distant points of light were no longer mysteries. They were destinations, opportunities, adventures waiting to happen. And on the horizon, a single human sat in his captain's chair, talking to beings from the other side of the galaxy. Cole, first among humanity's ambassadors, doing what humans had always done. Reaching out, connecting, building bridges across the void. The Empire had panicked when they first saw his ship. They had thought it was impossible, a human vessel in their space, a primitive species challenging their assumptions. They had been wrong about everything. Humanity was not primitive. Humanity was not weak. Humanity was the species that looked at impossible and said, not for long. The species that turned challenges into opportunities. The species that refused to accept limits. The stars belonged to everyone, and now humanity was taking its place among them. Whatever came next, one thing was certain. The galaxy would never be the same. And that was exactly what humanity intended.